Yeah, it was a really good weekend for us. It was said a couple times, but going back to Old Dominion, it was a deeply disappointing loss. And sometimes you just can't naturally flush something right away and move on. And it took us, I think, all 7 days to slowly build back, sort of our emotional wherewithal. We prepared, starting last Sunday, and our staff did a great job in preparing our team, but it was a slow build emotionally. And really the story of the game for me is, unlike the first week, we didn't get off to, in the very beginning, a great start, and that we, were forced to punt after 3 downs, and then they went down the field and scored. And for those who weren't there, the stadium really erupted. Their team and their stadium erupted because they had a disappointing loss that first week, and probably had some anxiety about, hey, what are we going to be? And it was this relief that, hey, we're going to go walk right through Eastern Michigan and everything's going to be good again. And so we had that moment, where we were either going to fold and this is going to be like it's been for the last 27 years, or we are going to put our foot down and take a stand and believe and do something different. And 38 points to 0, later, we'd taken our stand. And things weren't perfect. We still had a whole second half of football to play. And again, things weren't perfect with that. But that's what made that win special. It was more than just a win. It was us having to face, fight, and defeat the very thing that we knew we had to face, fight, and defeat. And just because we do it once doesn't mean that everything is all right in the universe. But so it was a special weekend in that way.
Questions for Coach? I guess first off, Coach, before we get into the actual game, what's the status on Reggie Bell, and is there a timetable for his return?
Yeah, he won't be with us this week, and it's probably going to be several weeks, and that he's got an injury to his jaw.
Is there any, because on the telecast they said fracture to the jaw, is that what it is?
Yeah, he's got a broken jaw. Okay. Yep.
So shifting to Brogan, and both Coach Creighton and DeBoer, you just describe Brogan's comfort in Bobby coming back starting this week and playing very well.
Yeah, you want to take that?
Yeah. Well, obviously his comfort level was pretty good on Saturday, and Brogan's done the work. He's done everything he could to make sure he was ready, and this isn't just a 1-week thing. He's been doing this since the end of last season, and we were fortunate enough to have 2 great quarterbacks that have prepared themselves to be the best they can be. And Reggie obviously started out the season with the first game and did a great job through the 3 quarters that he was in there. And Brogan, you could see that he's improved a lot too since the last time he stepped on the field as a starter here in our program. So it was fun to see Brogan just thrive in the moment. Seize the opportunity that he had in front of him, and just really very composed. His ability to scramble and make plays, especially on 3rd down, was something that really moved us down the field, and we got some even touchdowns off of a couple of them as well. So, looking forward to him to take the next step, even this next week, just as he continues to, I think, gain more confidence after this last weekend.
If I could add something to that too, I want to say, as impressive as the yards, and the touchdowns and all of that. When you think back, for both Reggie and Brogan, how hard it is to be in that marquee position, and both of them at different times have not been the starter, okay? And, Reggie didn't play his whole first year, and then came in and started. Everybody knows the story and whatnot, and Brogan had to take his seat, and then Reggie had to take his seat, and Brogan's had to take his seat. It's gone back and forth, and the way that those 2 guys have matured, and the way that, and it's so hard. Everybody talks about putting the team first, and that's really easy to do when you're not the one that's having to sacrifice. It's, hey, 1, 2, 3 team. Well, when you start talking about, well, the other guy is going to go out there, that's really hard. And the way that both of these guys, Reggie was awesome with Brogan this whole week and awesome with the team. And Brogan's attitude, coming in to camp and battling, but being a great teammate and the maturity, I know those aren't stats, but just watching those two guys, mature as men and as teammates has been really, really neat as well.
Has Bell been around practice, or has he had surgery or anything like that?
No, he hasn't had surgery. He's not going to have surgery. But yeah, so he's been at everything. He's just, he can't play.
Just going with both of your thoughts on just how impressive the offense has improved going from year one to year two, because Brogan comes in for Reggie, and he didn't even miss a beat at all. So just both your thoughts on that.
Well, I'll let him, talk about the guys. The guys are really doing a great job, but I'll talk about, our whole staff. Just really proud of how hard guys are working, and we're trying to change things here, and not just the ratio between zone and power, but how we attack weeks and how we put the team first and believe in a system and prepare for a game and whatnot. And I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about our coaching staff. Going through all of last year and this off season, I think we're getting better and better, and these guys are doing a great job.
It's only 2 games, and so there's a lot of football left to be played, and we do feel confident in what we're doing right now. And I think a lot of it is just we got guys making plays. We're I think really trying to work hard to make sure the right guys get the touches. And the exciting thing with that is it's a mix of veterans, but we also have some young guys that are really contributing. Eddie Doherty and Shaq Van were our 2 kind of guys that went off this weekend, and that's a redshirt freshman and a true freshman. So, but we're getting the guys that need to have the ball in their hands, and I think they're getting their touches. And the quarterbacks, I think, understand who those people are and how to do it. And then our offensive line has been real consistent. I think they really understand their job well, and they're working as a unit. And it really goes back to just the preparation, and that's going to be a big deal this week. It's been a big deal through spring ball, summer, fall camp, and then each and every week. And our preparation has to be spot on, or it can go the other way just as fast as it's gone, in a positive direction here through the first 2 weeks. So our guys, the preparation starts all over again right now for Ball State. And, if we do that right now, I think we're gaining enough confidence that we feel we can be successful on Saturdays.
Speaking of Shaq, we had, I believe it was 7 direct snaps to him on Wildcat. Is that more, we're going to see that more, or will tempo dictate that?
Yeah, the tempo helps. And just making people have to line up to different looks. And, you become a little bit limited when you see Shaq Van at tailback. It's not going to be a lot of passing off of that, but if we can just mix up the looks, and we've done it 2 weeks in a row now, we even did it at the home game. It's something that just I feel gives us a different look and an ability to have a downhill running attack with him. Try to steal an extra hat in the box as far as a blocker, and just kind of keep coming up with wrinkles off of it.
I guess, Coach, just to branch out more on the young talent. How impressive have you been with Eddie and Shaq this big time, as young as they are?
Yeah, it's been fun. We saw a glimpse of it with Shaq last fall, and then he got hurt actually and was out pretty much most of the season during his redshirt year. And this spring we saw some things that really got us excited. And I think it's raised DJ's level too. You see him doing things that I don't think a year ago he was doing. It's just exciting to see those 2 guys, the 1-2 punch, DJ and Shaq, both on the edge and up the middle. And that downhill running attack is putting some pressure on people, I think, right now. And Eddie came in, and we knew he had a lot of catches under his belt. He came from an offense that, where he had 160-some catches in his last 2 years. And so catching the ball is not an issue for him. It's going to be something he's pretty familiar with. But how quickly he caught on to, just our concepts and the timing. And I've never had a true freshman come in and be a key contributor. I mean, he's really become that already here just through 2 games. I've never had a true freshman do that as quickly as he has.
Coach McCaslin, with the quarterback win, your second drive, how much did that affect your play calling, knowing they have a backup quarterback in?
Well, we didn't have any information really on the what was actually the third string quarterback in terms of what he'd be able to do, and so we honored his ability to throw the ball initially, you know, and tried to stay in some base defensive stuff, and then as the game progressed, it was fairly clear that and their success at running the football, we had to get out of some pass calls and get into trying to figure out a way to stop the run.
And stopping the run that last 2 weeks has been pretty difficult to run, especially up the middle. What can be done to change that up, especially with the 2 games coming up?
There's always some scheme things that can be done, to do some things, change some gaps, make players stop and start again. That's one aspect of it. But there's also some technique involved in terms of, some violence at the point of attack, separation, and getting off of blocks, playing with vision. That's the coaching aspect of it. That's what we've got to get better on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday to perform on that on Friday. So, there's a couple different things that go into that, and it's a shared responsibility between us and the players right now.
You guys got an opportunity to look at tape and see maybe where some mishaps were in the Wyoming game, giving up almost 500 yards on the ground?
Well, the first 2 ball games we've missed 18 and 17 tackles between the 2. So that's certainly not going to help you stop the run. And then with the Wyoming, they had 3 core run plays that they were doing and doing well. And it took us a little while to get the first long run that they had early in the game. Was the third quarter before we stopped it. Before we stopped it effectively, and part of that is just with our eyes working the right way, seeing the things that we're seeing, and getting clear communication between players and coaches and players, and to get it stopped.
Going back to Coach Creighton, how do you go from a big win this week? How do you translate that and actually the players primarily with confidence level? Do you think they can go and win? Do you keep them grounded at all, or?
I think one of the issues that we had in week 1 in the first game was we got too high. It was 14-0, and it was not a familiar place for us, and so there was like too much happiness. I don't know how else to say it. You want to feel good and have momentum and confidence, but it was almost like we were celebrating during the game in a way that's not conducive to winning 3.5 hour long college football game. And we learned from that. We talked a lot about that. And so like this last week, that was not our issue. Our lapses came from maybe an intensity lapse, or maybe just a small focus lapse, but it wasn't because we thought that we'd arrived and that we were feeling good about ourselves in that way. And so we talked a lot last night about how, we haven't had to handle success much at all in this last year and a half, and was really encouraged by the game, and that we didn't overdo it during the game. And so the meeting last night, I think they knew that was coming. We even talked about it after the game a little bit, that it's a new slate and it is a new week, and we have to prepare whether you win or whether you lose. You can't have it one way and not the other. You have to be consistent. And I told the guys, I said, listen, I don't think it's going to be an issue, but I'm going to challenge you. Tuesday's meetings, when we get back together on Tuesday, the meetings and Tuesday's practice, I think, will be the most important practice of the week, because we'll know whether our guys are completely locked in and focused, or whether they're still answering questions about, whatever we're talking about with Wyoming. That's we're moving on to Ball State, and already have, and I expect for Tuesday to be a great one.
And talking about Ball State, what do you see from Ball State? What are your expectations going into that? Who are some guys maybe jump out on tape?
Well, I'll tell you, they're a very well coached team, and I remember we faced them, I think, the second to last game last year, and they handled us pretty well. And it was a younger team. I think it was the year before we got here in 2013 that they had a really big season and lost a lot of players. And so call it rebuilding or whatnot, but they had some younger players. Well, all of those younger players are now older. Between their offensive line and their tight ends, I think it's 4 redshirt seniors. And then the 2 other offensive linemen are redshirt juniors, so they're seniors. And, anytime you got a group like that, you've got a chance to do some pretty awesome things. They graduated their running back, and, just watching the first 2 plays of the Texas A&M game, their back goes for, I think, 73 or 74 yards on 2 separate plays. I'm like, wow, and they're playing 3 backs, and they're all good. And then their true freshman quarterback comes in, I don't know, halfway through the second quarter or so, and was really impressive, playing in front of 104,000 people. And I think they, it was well documented that they won the second half 20-7. And then defensively, we're looking at all the same faces, or almost, but a year older, and a couple different wrinkles defensively, and looks like they're playing a little bit more out of an odd front than what we remembered from last year. But still some even front principles, and move their secondary a lot, and guys who can run, and they're just well coached. I mean, they haven't turned the ball over, I don't think. Is that right? They haven't fumbled the ball once at all. Yeah, I think they threw an interception, or 2. But I mean, not even just lost fumbles. They haven't fumbled it. I think their field goal kicker's 5 for 5. Just all the things that you don't necessarily look at on the surface, but when you dig in, it's a well coached, proud football team. I want to say this too, that it was a week or so after Pat O'Connor, it became public that he wasn't going to get to play this year from injury, and in my box with Ball State letterhead was a note written to Pat O'Connor and my attention, so I didn't open it up. I gave it to Pat, and I don't know what it says, but my hunch is that he heard that Pat was going to miss the year, and just because he's first class, wrote him a note. Those things don't get talked about enough, but we sure appreciate it.
This will be the first conference opener for both teams. Either side will play a MAC game for a couple weeks. There are no other MAC games for a few weeks. How important is it for both sides to kind of get off to that start, knowing whoever wins this game is going to be at the top of the league for at least 2 or 3 more weeks?
Yeah, I mean, statistically all that's true. But, someone's going to be 1-0, and someone's going to be an 0-1. And the 0-1 team can go win the league championship, and the 1-0 team could go 1-5 or whatever it is. But is it important? Absolutely. Nothing was more important than the Wyoming game last week, and nothing is more important than the Ball State game this week. And whoever we play next, nothing will be more important than that. I'm sure that they're looking at it the same way. The MAC, it counts. We understand that. We have 4 non-conference games. I like the fact that here we are in week 3 and that we're playing a MAC game. Still building our identity. But it feels good, to be coming back home and playing in September. And it's really the first game that all of our students will be here. It's a big game, and Ball State's not very far from here. And so it's incredibly important for us just to continue to get better, and to do all we can to be at our best on Saturday.
It's also Hall of Fame weekend, and I know 2 former football players coming back. George Harrison, a person we've met and become familiar with, and also L.J. Shelton. What does it mean to have 2 guys like that coming back?
Yeah, it's a really big deal. Just like last week with Coach Parks coming back with the track program. We do have a proud tradition, especially with guys who have just gone on and had great careers. And, with George Harrison being here and being local, I've gotten to know him over the last year and a half. And, he had the record for career interceptions. I don't know if he still does, and played professionally and whatnot. And so has just been a great support to the program. And, you don't get to meet every alum, especially in a year and a half, but to have guys coming back and teammates coming back and whatnot, it's going to be a great celebration.
Anything else for coaches?
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.